like to welcome my panelists on the stage. Great. Right, so we have Mr. Jayant Roy. Please proceed to the stage. Mr. Venkatesh R. Mr. Jyotin Kutty Sastabhavan. And Ms. Monika Srivastava. Yeah, same order. Right, great to have you all here with us. The only unfortunate thing about this panel is that we are already running short on time because we have overseeded the time. And in the interest of time, what I'll do is I'll quickly introduce the panel and then we'll begin. So we have Mr. Jayant Roy. He's the Managing Director of Lindström. Lindström specializes in B2B textile as a service solution, offering workwear rental, such as heavy-duty, industrial workwear, and corporate staff uniforms. We have Mr. Venkatesh R. He's the Managing Director of Wärtsilä India. Wärtsilä manufactures power equipments for the marine and energy industries. We have Ms. Monika Srivastava. She's the Head of Sustainability at JSW Cement. JSW Cement is among India's largest cement manufacturers. And Mr. J.S. Kutty, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Tata Motors. Tata Motors is amongst the leading automobile manufacturers in India with operations in over 125 countries. So the drill is very simple to my panelists. I'll have one question and have each one of you answer the question. And then if time permits, we can have the second question. But we want to keep this more interactive like the previous panels, and we'll have more time for the audience. So my question to all of you is, what is your circular economy business model? Mr. Jayant, we can start with you.
Sure. Happy to be here, and esteemed panelists, hello from my side. So, for Lindström, I think it started off as product as a service. We are into workwear rental services, so providing high quality workwear, but not only just providing the workwear, but also maintaining, repairing and reuse. And that's how the circular business model is built. So right from the design stage, when we are designing a product, what we take into consideration, I remember one of the earlier panelists talking about design being the central theme. So the product is designed for maximum life. We use Ocotex certified durable fabrics. These are typically bio-based recycled fabrics that are taken in the design. Even the accessories, so we try and minimize the accessories that are there so that it's easy to repair these workwear. Moving forward, we have something which is called PRODEM, which is production on demand. So there, what we do is even a single garment, if it is required, it can be manufactured. So it's a cell-based manufacturing and not the bulk manufacturing that typically textile companies do. What that does is that it reduces complete overproduction, and of course the use of resources also comes down. Moving forward, even in our process, the process is designed in such a manner that the efficient use of water and energy and detergents. So all our detergents are enzyme-based green detergents that we use. Going further forward, a part of the value chain is the repair and the reuse, which becomes extremely important. Because what this does is it elongates the lifespan of the textile. Then further, when we move forward, when we move towards the end of the life cycle of this garment, 100% of our garments, once they have lived their life, are recycled into different products like mops or rugs. So that ways we increase the entire value life cycle of the garment, and that's what our circular business model is based on.
Incredible, incredible. Circular economy at its best, I must say. Lifetime extension, product as a service, that's how it's supposed to be. Isn't that right? Absolutely. Great. Mr. Venkatesh, what about you?
Yeah, again, it's nice to be part of this esteemed panel here and talking about the sustainability and also circular economy from a Finnish company perspective. We, Wärtsilä, maybe most of you know, we are a marine and energy company in 192-year-old in India for the last 40 plus years, and also on the ground doing activities. And how it has developed on our front is that all our solutions which are done are more sustainable solutions. So we build sustainable societies with our innovative solutions and services. So if you see, whatever our solutions are, they are all future-proof. Today, if it is running on a particular type of fuel, tomorrow the same products will run on green fuels, sustainable fuels, different types of systems and technologies. And that said, also the current life cycle of our products and systems are enhanced through the service models. And there we use digitalization as one of the key elements. So, most of these equipments which are all serving solutions which are like 3-4 decades they go on. So every cycle of the maintenance or extension of those would help the customers in a great way. And that is where our digital services brings up the automatic detection of the products and the components in that and extend their lifetime. So that's a very, very important aspect. And then if we think about our solutions itself, they are very highly efficient, highly profitable, and also continuous improvements happen. And most of you know Finland as being a leader in the research and development. Our company also puts in a lot of efforts on research development areas and bring up solutions which are more future-proof, sustainable, and also more standing in the bigger perspective. So we also collaborate on many of these type of innovative solutions with also services enhanced with it, and then bring up an ecosystem which is more close. Many of us know that 2035 is the direction which Finland has put in as the direction for sustainability. But as companies, we have kept the 2030 as a dimension. Many of our Finnish companies are kept that, and there we look at our own products and systems, our own factory manufacturing, and also our suppliers into that. So it's a circular economy playing around with our ecosystem players, which will bring up that bigger perspective.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do you have rental models as well? Do you rent out your machines and equipments?
We have multiple business models.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly customers prefer their own solutions, and they are more, because of the utility scale and the bigger solutions, they are there like that. But in some of the cases, we are also looking at energy as a service and different models that are coming up. But today, mostly, since it is of utility scale, they are more on longer term PPAs and longer term directions. And in the marine, customers would need it by themselves. So that's where we have not seen the solutions that much picking up yet, but we are preparing ourselves towards that direction also.
All right. Mr. Kutty, the floor is yours.
So first of all, as a practitioner of circular economy, many of us need to concede that this is not a very ephemeral and an easy topic to deal with. Many of us misunderstand that the usual examples that we probably encounter with using old stuff and passing it down our generations is really not about circular economy. In the morning we heard references to some of this. As we are dealing with the concepts of circular economy, we find it's a deeply scientific, deeply connected to incentives and the entire structure of the economic foundations post the Industrial Revolution. Unless you hold the bull by the horn, the problems of circular economy are not going to go away. It is embedded in design, it is embedded in the way we think, it operates at molecular levels, and it works at the foundational levels at which society thrives, works, lives, and engages. I'll give you an example. Take the case of an automobile that we make. An automobile consists of probably 100 parts. And if I go down the last if I keep on opening the automobile, I would think it consists of probably not less than 25,000 parts. An ordinary car. And if I were to now look at each of the processes that manufacture these parts, it would move from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 to tier 4 to tier 5. And as we go through this infinite loop, we lose track. Then there are direct and indirect materials, and then there is labor, and then there is machines that go to make it. It's a whole ecosystem that keeps all this functioning. And I talk to you about a very ordinary thing in our lives, which is the automobile. Now then we look at materials that go to make an automobile. We don't think that sulfuric acid is probably required to make automobiles. We probably would not think alkalis are required for making automobiles. But as we go down the chain, we recognize that there is no part of the world that does not contribute to the manufacture of an automobile directly or indirectly. So if you have to really analyze how do you make this circular, it's not a problem to be solved by people who pick the rags, or the people who go to abattoirs, or people who go and somehow keep the city functioning. It's a deeply intrinsic technical challenge that scientists, engineers, managers, entrepreneurs have to deal with at molecular and atomic level if this problem has to be solved. We recognize this at Tata Motors. And we recognize that this is not a challenge that we can solve individually. However big Tata Motors is, it is still a small company. And within this whole vast world of opportunity, unless there is ecosystem play that one of my senior colleagues from Tata Group, Abhishek, referenced, we are not going to be able to solve this problem. We can have a lot of conferences, but this deeply technical problem is not for those who are in the unorganized sector, but for extremely intelligent scientific minds to apply their minds to solve these problems. We are dealing with that, since we are not having enough time to deal with this topic, we will deal with it if time permits. But I just want to state only one thing for the audience, that to approach circular economy from rudimentary principles that we encounter on a day-to-day basis is to probably ill-define the vastness and the complexity of one of the biggest challenges of the 21st century that started ever since the Industrial Revolution began.
Completely agreed with what you're saying. It's a lot about consumption, it's a lot about design, and it's very less about the downstream measures, the end of life. So yeah, the floor is yours, Ms. Srivastava.
First of all, thank you for having me. So I represent JSW Cement, for which the teaser has already been given by Mr. Prabodha in the earlier panel, because I represent the same group. We started almost 2 decades ago when we had the byproduct generated at JSW Steel. So before coming a little more in detail, just for the purpose of understanding, cement manufacturing is a resource-intensive, emission-intensive, and energy-intensive process. So while we started our business model based on the material circularity, but if you go, if I talk about the whole 2 decades, we have replicated from material to fuel to energy, and now we are thinking of CO2. So I'll just give you a glimpse of it. So cement is produced by an intermediate product called clinker, and which is made out of limestone. Limestone is the basic raw material, and limestone along with other raw material is heated almost 1400 degrees Celsius. That means we need a lot of fuel. So over the years, currently we are replacing almost 15% of our fuel requirement with the alternative fuels, which is mostly coming from the plastic, segregated plastic waste, or the non-recyclable plastic portion. So that's the second thing. Mr. Prabodha also spoke about the waste heat recovery. Because the temperature goes till 1400 degrees Celsius, even after the process you have a lot of heat remaining there. So we have the waste heat recovery process where we almost use in those plants almost 40 to 50% of our power consumption is met from the waste heat recovery. third thing, because we are a part of the bigger group, JSW, steel, and you have energy and everyone, so everybody's waste becomes a raw material for us. So if I talk about JSW Energy, they produce a lot of fly ash that also we consume. Currently, the BF, that is blast furnace slag, is the primary raw material which we use. And when I spoke about the clinker, the more clinker you replace with these kind of materials, which is called supplementary cementitious material, your CO2 comes down. For each ton of clinker, there is almost 850 kg per ton of CO2 is being produced. When we are building on circular economy model, we have also become the company, not just in India but globally as well, with one of the one of the lowest emission intensity. To put the numbers in perspective, the global average stands around 580 kg per ton, and our emissions stands around 250 kg per ton. That's an approximate. So you can imagine the kind of impact we have with the build of circular economy and with practicing that. And now everybody is talking about CO2. So CO2 is anyway the waste which is going into the atmosphere, and many people, and including us, we are now thinking of making it also circular, that CO2, how CO2 can be reused again. In Europe there might be the storage which are more conceptualized and more being practiced, but in India most of the cement companies and other companies are also relying on the utilization part. So that's the go ahead for us. So we are building on that part right now. Yeah, thank you so much.
Lovely. There's so many questions where I could ask you about the cement industry. It's one of the most difficult in the hard to abate sectors. And the fact that all the flexible packaging is already used as a source of energy in cement. So it's already, there are attempts being done towards circularity in the cement sector. But yeah, there's a long way to go, and we all know that. Keeping the interest of time in mind, I would suggest that we open the floor to the audience, and we can have maybe 3 to 4 questions, depending on the answers of the panelists. So please.
Hi, I'm Ranjit. I'm actually from 2 design institutes. One is from NID and actually also from Aalto in Finland. So I have experience opening up in both these kind of like design education cultures. So I wanted to actually start with Jyotin sir. You are from Tata Motors, and one interesting project that I had done when I was in Aalto was working in sustainable mobility for Volkswagen, and that was in 2011. So the topic I want to open up as a question is about designing in the 4th order space, which is the complex systems, where you design for organizations, high-level decision making, and the messy space between the public and the private sector. So at that time, the design process revealed that the problem was not really that Volkswagen didn't have smart people or good technologies for sustainability. There was another kind of problem that got revealed, that it was 80-90% male dominated. So it didn't really have a voice coming in about how the mobility industry is being designed for women. And that would have shifted the dialogue in the public-private sector when it comes to policy or even regulations around environmental issues into this interesting space of social and behavioral dimensions. So that was a very interesting input we gave them. And 2012, ironically, they had Dieselgate. So Dieselgate, which is a very smart people sort of gaming the system and fooling the kind of authorities. So, you have this situation where companies are definitely driven by self-interest and corporate, you can call it greed or whatever. And then you have the public sector that is really trying to look at it from the wicked problem perspective. So so then to address that third space, Finland, Sweden, these countries have Sitra, Vinnova, those kind of agencies.
Could you just summarize your question?
Yeah, I needed to just give a background. So the summarization is that if you had a hypothetical organization in India, what features would it be having according to like if you are an organization like Sitra for India, what kind of features would you desire from a company perspective that they could enable your...
I get the
work?
question.
Yeah.
So, Sitra. I mean, we have representatives from Sitra over here. Sitra is the Finnish Innovation Agency, and they work corely on the topic of circular economy. A lot of the circular economy principles and fundamentals that are present in the industry has been brought up by Sitra. So the question asked by the gentleman is, if you had to set up a Sitra in India, what would be the principles or thoughts you would want them to have when working in a place like India, which is marred by things like price sensitivity and all the other challenges which India faces?
So setting the agenda for Sitra is not what I will talk about. But I'll tell you what are the challenges that we need to resolve for getting circular economy. One needs to clearly understand that each of the producers, whichever they are producing products or they are providing services. Now, and none of these products are coming into the market by not meeting regulations. We are not talking about, the second-rate and third-rate companies. We are talking about the right companies who are supposed to meet the regulations and produce. But you would see in even the best countries, if you do not have regulations that drive certain behavior, you would probably end up with meeting just compliance requirements as far as the product is produced and launched into the market, but it doesn't get back into the whole system that works. I'll give you a case of EPRs. In India, we did not have EPRs and we did not have the regulation Ankit referenced that about EPRs. Now, when EPRs, extended producer responsibility, becomes a mandate in India, and each company has to meet these mandates, then automatically the material that you're putting into the marketplace becomes the responsibility of the extended producer, and it gets back into the system. So getting regulations in place is a very important element of getting things done. Now, regulations does not mean only for the producers, it also means for the consumers. If we were to say that you go to the streets of Singapore and the same person who lands in Singapore will behave differently from the person who lands in Mumbai, that means the regulations for consumers also have a very important place to play in getting all these systems to work together. So Sitra can have their own agendas and their means of accomplishing certain tasks, but there is no one size fits all for anybody. And the reference to what you did with an automobile company may or may not match with what is the outcomes that Sitra will deal with.
Thank you for that.
Maybe I can shortly extend that comment also, if you allow. Maybe to your question, precisely, Sitra is an enabler of an ecosystem within Finland. And Finland, when they think about, they are also extending their services towards Europe as a bigger system. So Nordic, Finland, Europe, that type of connect happens. India is already much bigger than Europe, if you would think. And as Kutty sir mentioned also, there has to be sector-specific developments which could be thought of. Sector-specific developments where the ecosystem players come together and there is an ecosystem mechanism which will help us together. Today we are more or less more dependent on our own individual directions, individual companies, individual targets. So there could be some mechanisms which we are discussing also through different industry forums, through different chamber cooperations. We should bring up that type of, developed countries, European mechanisms into India also, which will help India to grow leap bounds. I'll just give you an example on energy. Wide and intelligent, sustainable energy is a topic there, which is helped by Sitra and also Business Finland in order to bring it up on a bigger European forum. That gets funding, that gets also directions, and development happens there. There are around 51 companies, and luckily we are also the leader there in guiding those solutions. That gets funding, that gets solutions done, and that can be then rolled out not just for Europe, but for the whole world. So such type of initiatives we should bring in. Today in India we are lacking that, and this type of agencies, if we bring in, Industrial bodies have their own agendas and purposes there, sectors have their own purposes there, but common areas like these, if we enable, it would be a great win-win for us. And some directions like that has been seen, mainly in the information technology or that type of areas, but we need to think about it on a bigger aspects on different pressing matters for us. Thank you again.
Thank you, thank you. It's incredibly sad for me to just say that we'll have one more question, because these are incredibly intelligent people who are decision makers and they can offer so much to the audience and share their views. But just one more question. Yeah. Yeah, please, Gary. Yeah.
My question is directed to Mr. Jyotin. So I wanted to understand from the private sector perspective, and as Tata Motors, how do you envision the role of government and infrastructure when we talk about a take-back system for vehicles? Do you have any vision or thoughts on that? What role could government infrastructure play?
You know, we really depend a lot on the government for many things, including right from the consent to operate to consent to establish to operate to many of those things. We are also looking for mandates so that we are able to have a level playing field. We don't want to do something more at great costs, which the competitor is not doing. Therefore, you know, can you have regulatory space where everybody is fair? But I'll park the role of the government. Let me try to help you by answering you. What can I do as a private sector? Because everybody in a system, everybody has to perform their roles. So a few years ago, in the aftermath of COVID, our chairman, Mr. Chandra, he announced a concept or an initiative. It was called Alingana. It was about sustainability, 3 pillars. I'll not dwell into it. One was related to net zero. The second was related to pioneering circular economies. Third was about nature and biodiversity. He rolled out this vision across the group. And we as Tata Motors, we committed to a vision of getting to net zero by 2045 for commercial vehicles and passenger cars by 2040, JLR by 2039, etc. You know, you'll park the carbon question. Then we realized, you know, let's look at circular economy. Carbon is very hard to deal with. It consists of products, it consists of supplies, it consists of channel partners. There's a whole lot of things. Let's assume for a minute that we cracked or, you know, we understood what we need to do, including the product strategy right up to 2045. Then we started looking at this question of pioneering circular economies, and we recognized that, you know, we have to make 2 or 3 decisions which will be important. One is circular economies can be dealt with through anecdotes, stories. You know, you do a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you project yourself, you know, you get your eyeballs and you say you've done something in circular economy. But we made an important decision in the group, and that we said we will base everything based on science, which meant we had to bring a scientific conversation to the table. Not about pictures, not about eyeballs, but how do you get engineers, managers and scientists to put their heads down and work at molecular, atomic level through models for circularity. Why did we say this? It's because we recognize very deeply and inherently that circular economy is a very deep topic. It is not for the boys, it's for men. Real, hardcore men and ladies who really have to put down their head and look at something which is going to solve these problems for the next 100 years. How did we do that? We created the group circularity model. We created models that connected right from design to manufacturing to sourcing to aftermarket. Are we there? Not at all. Are we on the journey? Absolutely. Do we see a future where circularity defines our operating model? Absolutely. Will we get there? Surely. Can we create centers of excellence? Absolutely. Can it become a mantra in Tata Motors? Answer, yes. So we created a mantra called Tattva. Tattva means essence that connects this as an operating system based on circularity. Does it reach suppliers? Yes. Does it go beyond tier 1s to tier 2 to tier 3? Absolutely it will. Are we successful there? Not at all. Have we reached tier 1s? Yes. Tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, we don't even know. It's a long journey. So we are on a journey, and I must tell you, many of us always look at somebody else to do the work. But we rarely look at ourselves to what we can do. We are designers. We can design better. We can design for circularity. We can design for dismantleability. We'll give you a last example. There is not a single element in the periodic table of hundreds of elements that do not get into a car directly or indirectly. If all of this car was made of one single material, one single atomic material, it is so easy to work with. This is the essence of circular economy. Because if you start looking at a car as a combination of so many materials which has come together and contaminating each other, then it is a piece that it's very difficult to deal with. Otherwise, usko pura uthao, just pick it up and put it into a furnace and get on with life. It's not so. So we need to understand this, and we should not actually transfer our responsibilities as scientists to the rag pickers that we keep talking about, or to the people in the unorganized sector to answer the problems created by the scientists when they're designing things to solve the problems for us. We recognize this and take our responsibility very, very seriously. We look forward to a day when our products would be so circular that there is economic value to it, and we are actually designed in circularity so that we are not depending on the last mile or the last person in the chain to solve this for us. Long journey, a journey of 100 kilometers starts with the first step. We recognize this, but we are putting in place the mechanisms that come 2030, come 2035, come 2040, 45, we have plans to get there. Eventually, Tata Motors will lead this in ways that we will be examples for others to follow. Short answer to your longish question. Let me talk about myself. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's completely understandable. I mean, plastic, which is there for chips packets, is different and cannot be recycled. Is way different from the plastic which you make buckets out of. So for a car, million products, million items, million raw parts, very difficult to achieve circularity. Totally understandable.
I just want to add one thing. We keep talking about plastics, but plastics actually are a wonder material. It has changed the way man deals with life, right? The same thing which is a problem today was a solution of the past. And like that, everything goes in a circular loop, as we heard in the morning. The problems of today are the solutions of tomorrow. But actually the solutions of today were the problems at one point of time. The way to look at plastics is, okay, it did what it needed to do. Oil did what it needed to do. But mankind has to now go beyond and see what can we go beyond plastics and how can plastics be reformed to behave in the new era. I just wanted to leave that topic with you. And we are working on that for your information.
Great. Thank you so much. I thank my panel for this wonderful discussion and apologize that we could not talk more.
Ma'am had a question I'll take up later.
Yeah, all those questions which you have, because I completely understand. You have managing director sitting over here, you have CSO sitting over here. So there are a lot of people who want to ask questions. Sadly, we'll have to close the panel discussion now. You can have all those questions offline, and I announce the panel closed.
Thank you very much. Let's give an applause to all the panelists.